And greetings and salutations, fellow Watford supporter. Welcome to another edition of the You ORNS pre-match live. This time it's the final one for 2024 as Watford take on Cardiff at Vicarage Road. My name is Omar. It is great to see you, fellow Watford supporter, wherever you may be across the world, as we do go live prior to the match. Sahil has joined us on Instagram. Thank you, Sahil. Hello to you, and I hope you are having a good holiday season. Yes! Well done, Sahil. Good to see you there. Thank you. Shane has joined us. Hello, Shane. How are you on this Sunday afternoon? Hope you're well. Thank you, Sahil. I am. Thank you for asking. I hope you're well as well and doing all right in the final few days of 2024. The Instagram crew are in full effect, and on YouTube, it's great to see you as well. And thank you, Shane, for that. I hope you're well, Shane. And your optimism, I will be welcoming, of course, as ever, as fellow Watford supporters, as Watford take on a Cardiff side that will have Omar Ariza in the dugout. Of course, he used to be a head coach, or at least a coach for the Watford under 21s, I believe it was. And certainly was somebody who was on the coaching staff at Watford on a number of occasions. And so it should be a very rather interesting match. Sahil on Instagram says the following: I'm looking for a bit more of a comfortable win today. Every game is too close at the moment, says Sahil. It is. Sahil, it is getting too close for comfort. Watford can only win these games, it seems, one way when it comes to home form. They are winning the games. I think this one will be a difficult game again, Sahil, though. I've got bad news for you there. But the good news is I do think Watford will prevail. I do think it's going to be a lot more difficult, though, than this scoreline that I'm predicting, which is Watford 3, Cardiff 1. I think it's going to be a very close game, hard-fought game. But I do think Watford will win it, and I do predict Watford will score 3 times, which they've not done at home in quite some time. I can't think of the last time that Watford has scored 3 goals at home. Maybe Stoke was the last time. And I'm not talking about the Carabao Cup, of course, when they beat MK Dons 8 goals to 0. It's been a long time since they've scored at least 3 goals in this season. I think the last time they scored 3 goals at the Vic, excluding that game against the MK Dons, was way back at the first home match of the season. Sahil might have been that 3-0 win against Stoke that we had. So I'm going for 3 goals here today. So Watford 3, Cardiff 1 is the prediction that I make here on You ORNS pre-match. Your predictions are welcome. I really would love to know what people are thinking about this game. And I also want to ask a question that I have been asking on social media, and maybe you'll see this, and I'll ask this question, and then I'll answer a question that has been posed to me by Sahil in the Instagram as well, the Instagram chat. But the question I want to ask you, first of all, before I do answer the question that Sahil has posed, is the following question. I'll read out the question, then I'll answer it. But the question I want to pose first is this one: who, for you, is Watford's most positive impact player? The player or person is who has the most positive impact on Watford this season in the men's first team. And I'm going to throw out five choices, because one of them, Imran Loser, was not on my list on social media. And there were one or two showing a little bit of not annoyance, but a little bit of bewilderment as to why I didn't put him on. Well, the reason I didn't put Imran Loser on the list is because there are only 4 options on X, for example, because I do think Rocco Vata, who I've also put on that list of 5, is worthy of being in that top 5. So I'm going to say here are the 5 choices, and you can pick someone else if you want to, but my 5 choices that I put out there: who is the most impactful, who is the person with the most impact, positive impact on Watford's men's first team so far this season? Is it Georgie? And I'm saying apart from Tom Cleverley, is it Georgie? Is it Imran Loser? Is it Quadwell Bar? Is it Rocco Vata? Or is it Matty Pollock? Those are the 5, okay? I've been asking this question on social media, and I hadn't included Imran Loser, but I do now on these live airwaves. You give me your choice there. Matt, before I go to Sahil, Matt says on YouTube, "Hey, Omar, hope you had a great Christmas." I did. Thank you, Matt. I hope you had a great Christmas as well. I'm just wondering how we are going to get on without the hard work of Bar after his red card he got at the end of the Portsmouth game. Matt, I'm going to address that in a few moments, but I want to get to Sahil. Thank you, Matt, for your comment, but I'm going to get to Sahil, who asked this question on Instagram. What was your take on the Bar shenanigans? Easy for me to say, right? Last match. Well, for me, look, Bar's a young lad. I know a lot of people had a lot to say about this post-match. Bar's a young lad, obviously very happy about the win, the manner in which Watford won the game. So he has a right to celebrate, but I think that I think he made a little bit too much of it. He should have probably just kept the celebrations where he should have kept them, which is in the middle of the pitch with his mates, with his friends, with his fans, with his fans, and with the Watford team. Enthusiasm got the better of him, and of course he ended up getting suspended for it. And so I think what happens to Sahil, and to anyone else listening or watching, and thank you, Jan Stavru, for joining us here as well, is that he's going to have to learn that as a footballer, you have to comport yourself in a certain way. If this was the FA Cup final and Watford had won it, I could completely understand it. If this was Watford getting promoted to the Premier League and he had played a part in that and Watford had won in dramatic style to ensure a promotion spot automatic, I can understand that. But it's a league game in the dead of winter. Let's not get carried away here. And you beat a team that, by the way, played better than you did this first half. So I want to put context into that. Thank you, Steve, for joining us. Hello, Steve, on Instagram. I want to put context to that celebration. The other thing I would want to say about it is he is young. I don't excuse him going a little bit, getting too carried away, but he is young. He'll learn, and he's got to understand that you have to be a footballing professional. Got to be a footballing professional. You can celebrate, you can have some fun, but let's not get carried away. I mean, come on, it's a game in the dead of December. Let's not get carried away here. He'll learn. He's young. He'll learn, and he's learning. I think what also has to happen at that point is that the players, and I think there were one or two players who did come up to him and did push it away, some of the Portsmouth lot, is that you got to learn. You just got to learn to keep things under wraps. You won the game, celebrate the game, you celebrate the win, and you move on. It's not like you won the Premier League. It's not like you won the Championship. It's not like you just won the FA Cup and you're at Wembley. If you're at Wembley doing that, I have less of a problem with it. But you've got to be a professional footballer. And what Bar has got to learn is that professionalism is everything. I love his passion. I love his hard work. He's a good lad. He's an honest lad. He's somebody who uses his passion in football, but he's got to use passion in football for positive reasons. If you start to celebrate like a buffoon, and if you start to lose your temper, because Bar has been known to lose his temper a little bit, to get a little upset. I mean, it's human to have emotion. It's human to feel. It's human to be upset, but you've got to harness that for your football on the pitch and use it positively. There's two ways you can do this, positively and negatively. And I think Bar is doing a bit more of the latter at the moment. And somebody has to come up to him. And I know Tom Cleverley told him to take things easy. He's just got to calm it down and be a professional footballer, because what happens is he'll be a target now. At some of these matches, he'll be a target now. And I don't know if he was the target of the racial abuse that was alleged to have happened at the Burnley game, because that's not been disclosed. At least I'm not aware of it. And you've not heard anything else. At least I've not seen anything else since. So that's my take on where Bar is. Thank you for the comments, Sahil. I'm going to read out what you have to say. Sahil has said, look, I agree with you with what you've said. Stupidity on his part. Celebrate, but keep it dignified, says Sahil. And there's a few other comments from Sahil on this as well. Young or not, it's common sense. The issue with Bar is if he doesn't get a foul he thinks he should get, he always seems to get revenge that gives him a card. Yeah, that is a problem. Sahil, I agree with you. He's got to harness his passion, and his passion can turn to anger or it can turn to productive football. One of the things that he's going to have to learn, I think he's 20, 21 this lad now. He's a young man, but he's got to learn. And it doesn't matter how old or young you are. I think, as you mentioned, Sahil, you've got to be able to control your temper, and you've got to be able to harness the passion that you have into football and do it positively, and this goes for anyone in any sport or anything, any walk of life, right? You can get upset and angry even at some things, but you've got to harness your anger in a positive way, not in a negative way, whether it's violence, whether it's the kind of things that you're getting sent off for if you're on a football pitch. You can't do that. You've got to be able to calm yourself down, and you've got to be able to use the passion and the frustration and address it in your football. I mean, we've seen some horrible examples of this, haven't we? If you look at any sport, John McEnroe, for those of you who are of a certain age, you know very well, John McEnroe had an awful temper on the tennis court. He could not control his temper for anything, and he would scream and curse at the referee or the umpire. He would smack the ball into the stands. He would smash up an ice box. He would smash up his racket. We've seen this. If you go back, and if you weren't around back then, watch him on YouTube. Go to YouTube and watch John McEnroe. John McEnroe angry. John McEnroe smashes a tennis racket. John McEnroe shouts. You can search that on YouTube and you'll find a million clips, a gazillion clips of John McEnroe not controlling his temper. And usually it hurt him. Sometimes it helped him. But you've got to use your anger or your frustration to the positive sense. Because unlike tennis, at least in singles competition, this is a team sport. And Barr has to learn that it's not just him on the pitch. What he does affects all of his teammates. What he does is critical to this team, because what happens is you lose your cool and then you get sent off, and then your team is weaker because you've now got sent off for some silliness, which if you had controlled your passion and your emotions and your temperament, you could have still been on the pitch and you could have been playing today at Cardiff. And that's what I want to get to with Matt, who has asked, I am, just wondering, how we're going to get on. Well, this is why, Matt, I think this is going to be a difficult game for Watford because we don't have Barr, but I do think Watford are going to win. The prediction for me is Watford 3, Cardiff 1. And what we're going to do, and we have the lineup now, it's very clear. LaRousse is going to play a role going forward. Vat's going to play a role going forwards. You've got Ryan Andrews starting this game, and I think that's a key as well. So Ryan Andrews will be playing a role as well, I think, going forwards. And of course, you've got Bio starting, as I predicted he would start this game, and I predicted that James Morris would be on the bench. That's exactly what has happened. Ogbonna is on the bench. It's good to see him back on the bench again. He was not in the previous game, but he's back on the bench now, so he's obviously fit enough and healthy enough to be on the bench. Harvey Smith, thank you, Harvey, on YouTube. Hello. On Instagram. Hello to you. But Matt, I think that's the issue for me. I think it's going to be a tougher game because Barr isn't there. We're going to have to be patient, even more so with Cardiff. But I think once we get the goal against Cardiff, and I do predict Watford will score in the first 15 minutes of this game. Once we get that goal, I think we can go on and get a second goal. And I think we'll have a 2-0 lead by halftime. That's what I think. I think Cardiff will score in the second half to cut the deficit, and then we'll be on a knife's edge for a number of minutes before we get a third. That's what I think is going to happen. Watford will score early, maybe the first 15 minutes, I'd say, of the game, and then they'll get another soon after that. Then they will go into halftime at 2-0 up, and I think Cardiff will come out, score in the second half to make things a lot closer. And then Watford, I think, will get a third goal and win 3-1. So that's my prediction. But even with Barr missing, says Matt, I'm going to say 3-0 Watford. That is the prediction of Matt on YouTube. Thank you, Matt, for your prediction. I appreciate that. But yeah, Matt, that's really where I think it's heading, somewhere in that neighborhood as well. But Watford, they're going to have a very difficult time because they're going to have their options tremendously limited. They're not going to have the pace to get down that right side. Although Ryan Andrews is a good deliverer of the ball, he doesn't have the pace that Quadro Barr has, and he's not as strong in terms of cutting the ball back as Barr is. He can find that pass really well. Ryan Andrews usually is a better striker of the ball with a pass from a longer distance, so I think he will cross the ball in a bit more than he will perhaps find that byline and put the ball back. But we'll see. We'll see. I think that this move, not having Barr, forces Watford then to try to go more through the middle of the pitch or more on the left side of the pitch for their attack. They may even decide to go very direct, very route one, and hit some long balls. But for that to be effective, of course, Daniel Batman's going to have to get his kicking boots on. And we know that Batman's kicking can be a big liability for him. So I don't know how much they're going to try that. They played a game just what 3 days ago now, days ago. So we'll see. They might want to utilize Backman doing a more direct route one approach, which I could see them doing actually. But we'll see if it happens. And Gakia on the bench as well in this match as well. Not a surprise. These lads played nearly the whole game last time out. And as I predicted, and as I told you in the You ORNS post-match on X, and I apologize for not doing a post-match on Boxing Day here on YouTube or on Instagram. It was just one of those really hectic times, and so I couldn't get that going. Unfortunately, and also, quite frankly, when you're working on Boxing Day, yeah, it's difficult to do the video as well. But bottom line is that I will obviously be doing, as you can see, the pre-match and the post-match everywhere today. But I think the restrictions that we have is that we're not going to have enough attacking flair going forward. We're not going to have enough of that kind of attack down that right side. I think if you look at a lot of Watford's goals this season, a lot of them have come from that right side, haven't they? From that either that wing back coming forward or from the outlet that the bar has, the he output that he delivers. He's been a real influence down that right side. So that's where I'm going with this. This is the day that Bar hurts you, not being in the team. And look, I really do hope that Watford continue doing what they're doing. But again, today's going to be tricky. You've got a former Watford employee in the other dugout. He's going to know something about these lads. He's been around these lads. He's been a coach around these lads. He's been in the first team as a coach. I think last season he was when Valérien Ismaël was Watford's head coach. He was on the coaching staff. So that's going to be a factor. He was there, I think, for the whole or much of the whole season last season. Of course, he had the under 21s, certainly the academy, I believe, at one point or another. Omar Moore. Excuse me. So that's going to be a factor. Obviously, he knows Tom Cleverley very well. Tom Cleverley actually used to play in the under 21s while Omar Moore was either an under 21s coach or a manager there, but that would have been quite some time ago. So he probably would have been on the coaching staff or something like that. So that's very, very interesting to me about that. But Omar Moore is the Cardiff head coach now, and he took over earlier this season, I think, or late last, whichever it was. And so he now has some head coaching experience for a Cardiff side that struggled this season. Cardiff in the bottom two. Watford have had problems, for those of you watching, have had problems breaking down clubs at the bottom end of the table. We've seen that. We've seen the way they played against Plymouth. They were excellent against Plymouth, but couldn't win the game despite having the lead twice in the lead, literally seconds before the end of the game. We know that. They struggled against Hull City, and if it wasn't for Rocco Vata, would have lost the game. They struggled to break down a QPR side who, as I said at the time, were not bottom club material. QPR, clearly, as I said it over and over again, and I will say it now, QPR, the position in the table did not really reflect who QPR really are. And you look at the table now, and they're roughly mid-table, or they were before they took a defeat, I think, the other day. Mark Curlin, hello, has joined us. Hello to you on Instagram. Hello, Mark. How are you? Hope you are well. So Watford are trouble breaking down these clubs in the bottom half of the table, especially in the bottom six. Plymouth, they didn't win against. Hull, they didn't win against. And so QPR, who were in the bottom six at the time we played them, we didn't win against. We've struggled against Preston. Preston were in the bottom three at the time we played them and lost to them. So, we've had a lot of trouble against these teams in the bottom half. Watford, they made a lot of, and Portsmouth we struggled against before coming back to beat them. And I don't think Watford played particularly well in that game against Portsmouth either. And some people would disagree with me, but Watford's character and their determination got them over the line in that game. And let's face it, the average football match is going to be like this when the championship, and the way Watford play, it's going to be like this. It's not going to be flair. It's never going to be flair. It's rarely going to be flair. It's not going to be what Watford did last season against QPR 4-0 in the first game of the season at the Vic. It's just not going to be like that. The average match that Watford play is going to be a very, very drawn out affair, bitty, scrappy. It's going to have some moments of ebb and flow. It's going to have some moments of end to end. It's going to have some moments where you're under the cosh for 15, 20 minutes defending. And it's going to have some moments where you are hitting the target and when you're going forward. But the average Watford, but most of Watford's matches are not going to be what Watford did to QPR last season with the 4-0 win. It's not going to be like that. This is the championship, 46 of these blooming games. It's if you're looking for flair and dash and flash, this is not going to be your match, especially with these conditions today at Vicarage Road, where it's cold, where it's icy, where it's a tricky situation. It's the dead of December. It's the last game in December. It's the last game of 2024 for Watford. It's going to be a tricky affair. Cardiff, who remember when we were supposed to play Cardiff about a month ago, earlier this month, I think it was, or just a bit late December, or late November, or whatever it was. And of course, Storm Dara took care of that fixture. And we play Cardiff in another 15, 16 days from now. So, that scheduling quirk means we play them roughly twice in 2.5 weeks, twice in a week, twice in 2 weeks. So, we don't see that very often anymore in the Football League, but we're going to see it with Watford and Cardiff, who will get very familiar with each other over the next 2 weeks and change. And so Watford need to get the win here. I did predict that Watford would get 6 points from these 2 home fixtures. So I'm expecting that Watford will win, but it's not going to be easy with the conditions, with the pitch. And by the way, here in San Francisco, it's raining, and it had been raining, and it's been windy. So look, obviously when you're playing in conditions like that, when you got wind or rain or ice, and it's cold, it's going to be tricky. And I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Watford for this match as well. I know Matt talked about it's going to be a little bit, without Bar, it's going to be tricky. And I think it will be tricky. There's going to be pressure on Watford because everyone in the building, except for the Cardiff fans and the Cardiff players and their coaching staff, are going to expect Watford to win this game. But, sometimes it's very hard to break down these bottom sides, as I've said earlier. And Cardiff are going to be very stubborn. Cardiff are going to come there looking to get a point and build on that and try to do a smash and grab. Watford against Cardiff has been a tricky fixture over the last few times out at Vicarage Road. And so I don't think Watford have won any of them. I think we've drawn one. I think we've lost one a season or 2 before. We may have lost that one last season. It's a tricky one. So Watford Cardiff is not going to be a cakewalk. I predict 3-1. And hello, Holly. I hope you are well as well on Instagram. But I do want to reiterate this question again, as we are now roughly 25 minutes away from kickoff at the Vic. And the question becomes, hello there, Holly. Nice to see you. Hello, mate. It's great to see you, Holly. Thank you. The question I want to ask, and I asked this again on social media the last 24 hours on X and on Instagram, and I want to add a person to the category this time, is this: which person has been the most impactful person on the Watford men's first team besides Tom Cleverley this season? Which person has had the most positive impact on the Watford men's first team so far this season, except besides Tom Cleverley? Here are the 5 choices. You can name someone else, but here are my 5 choices for you to select from. Imran Louza, right? You've got Quadvo Bar, Georgie Chekfatazda, right? You've also got Rocco Vata, right? And you've also got Matty Pollock. So those are the 5 choices. I want your comments on that. Holly says Vata. It looks like Vata. That's what Holly says. Anyone else on YouTube, you're chiming in on that. Would love to hear from you. But we've got 1 vote for Vata. On a number of other platforms, we have a lot of people going for it on a lot of different directions. Some people were unhappy that I dared put Vata in there. You had a couple of people on social media saying, "Oh, why is Vata on this list?" It's like, he should be on the list. He absolutely is one of the 5 candidates. Now, I only had 4 at the time because on social media they only limit you to 4 choices. But I didn't put loser on there. Then people were upset about that. Not upset, but they were talking about that. But loser's definitely one in there. But Vata definitely deserves to be on that list. That's why I put him on there. He absolutely does. He's had a lot of positive impact. Then there's other players too. Quadvo Bar, you've got Matty Pollock, Georgie. These are definitely good choices to have, and that's why I used that. That's why I put those choices in there because it's actually good choices. So Vata is definitely one, and Holly has agreed with that. So we will see what your picks are. I'll probably talk about this again in the You Orns post match and in the You Orns post match on Instagram as well. So I think at this point we're going to probably say goodbye for now. I do thank you for joining on Instagram and on X for You Orns pre-match and on YouTube, of course, excuse me, not on X, on YouTube and on Instagram. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. My name is Omar. I do hope that you are having a very good Sunday afternoon, and I hope that things stay nice and dry for you. I know it's been windy, it's been cold, it's been all kinds of things there in the United Kingdom and England, and I do hope that the pitch is suitable enough. I know it's a bit icy out there. It's a bit tricky, so be careful and mind how you go. Don't forget to follow on the YouTube channel on YouTube at You Orns WFC. Please subscribe to the You Orns WFC YouTube channel. And of course, please also make sure that you like the videos there as well. And thank you for joining us. Also, don't forget to join on You Orns WFC on both Instagram and X. Please do that. We'd be grateful for your follow. And of course, we will do this at full time on both Instagram and YouTube, and of course on X as well. So please stay tuned. We are now 20 minutes away from kickoff at the Vic between Watford and Cardiff. Do enjoy yourselves. Be careful out there. And of course, come on, You Hornets. We definitely need to get the win here. A win will keep us in the top 6 where we currently are. And I think that will be very important when you consider we have a number of players, a number of teams rather, who are playing against each other. Middlesbrough take on West Brom, I think it is. We've got Burnley playing against someone as well. It could be Middlesbrough against Burnley, I think. And West Brom, I think, take on Sheffield United. So something like that off the top of my head. These are games that Watford taking on a Cardiff side need to be taking full advantage. Believe me, full advantage of what's been going on in these games. You know, Sheffield United, I think they got a draw today. So if you look at what's going on, Sheffield United got a draw. I mean, they drew today against West Brom. So Sheffield United have stuttered a bit at home. You know, West Bromwich Albion get a point. And they got a point in the 45th minute of the game. So 46 minutes, Ahern Grant scored. Both the goals in that game came at halftime, before halftime in the first half. Brooks for Sheffield United, and then Ahern Grant for West Brom. Sheffield United won, West Brom won as your final. So that result means that West Brom now are on 36 points. Middlesbrough on 36. Middlesbrough play coming up shortly. Sheffield United at the top on 49. Leeds on 48. Burnley on 47. Sunderland on 44. Blackburn Rovers 6 points behind. There's that gap. So you've got all these teams comfortably ahead there. And then it's really those 2 playoff places, 5th and 6th, that are up for grabs. And there's at least 4 teams. I'd say I'd include Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday as well. But for all intents and purposes, I'll make it 4. We've got Blackburn in 5th on 38. Watford, are on 37 in 6th. And with a game in hand like Blackburn do as well. So look, you've got them 2. And then, of course, you've got Middlesbrough and West Brom on 36 apiece. West Brom having played 1 more game than Middlesbrough, and West Brom having played 2 more games than us. So, you know, Watford now, if we can get a win here today, that pushes us further up into the mix in the top 6. And we can start to really get comfortable in that top 6 now with a game against QPR on New Year's Day. But first things first, it's Watford versus Cardiff. Watford taking on a Cardiff side who are in the bottom 2. Cardiff have lost 4 of their last 6. So we've got to look at that. Hello, John. Hope you're well. John Casey joining us on Instagram as well. As I was just about to close out this episode, but we've got a few people who have just joined us, and we've got a comment from Matt on YouTube, a couple of them from Matt on YouTube. Thank you, Matt, a regular contributor on YouTube, on the YouTube channel at You ORNS WFC. Really appreciate you, Matt, for your consistent comments and your analysis as well. We have a few other commenters who come on YouTube regularly, but Matt really is the person who really does bring up some really good points as always. Thank you, Matt, for doing that. And here's what Matt has to say on YouTube. Matt says, Pollock for me is the choice. Now, listen, this is in response to my question, which I put on social media throughout the last 24 hours or so, which was actually put it on Saturday, which is yesterday. And I said, who has had the most positive impact on the Watford men's first team so far this season? And I gave out 4 choices on social media, on X and Instagram, but then I'm going to add a 5th choice, and my choice is all 5 of them. Aside from Tom Cleverley, who is the person who is the most positive impact on Watford's men's first team so far this season? And I have these 5 choices here for those of you watching live or watching in retrospect. Would be Georgie Chakvetazda, Kwadwo Bar, Imran Louza, Matty Pollock, Rocco Vata. Those are the 5 choices. And here's what Matt has to say about this. Pollock, for me, as he's grown as a defender after us losing one of our top defenders in the transfer market, says Matt. He's shown that he's a leading defender. Good shout on Pollock. I think that that's great that you make that point, Matt, because I agree. I think he's, and I would add this, not only in addition to him being a leading defender, he is a leader on that pitch. This is a guy that can be captain easily next season. I think he deserves to be, because he's shown you this season and he's graduated to that level already. Here's a man who was on the outside looking in last season, and we had no idea if he was even going to stay, even though he always really wanted to stay. There were hubbubs and rumors and all the rest of it. And you know what rumors are. Rumors are like Fleetwood Mac. And I love Fleetwood Mac. But if you know anything about Fleetwood Mac, then you understand that reference. Turns out that Matty Pollock stayed here, and he got the playing time that a lot of us were calling for as a youngster. And you see what he's done. He's done an excellent job this season. So that's a good point there. Thank you very much for that, Matt. And then finally, Matt says, in today's game, it will show us if we can move the ball around the pitch in different ways. It will also show us if we have other players who can actually score and not just rely on just one player. Not rely on just one player, says Matt. This will be the game that shows us that, with Bar's absence. Bar, I don't know if he'd be in the stands for this game or not, watching in the director's box or not. I think if you're suspended, you're not even supposed to be in the stadium. So if I'm correct on that, he'll be watching this from the hotel room or from home, because, of course, Watford gather at the team hotel before they come to the ground, or the team training ground before they come to the Vic. So this is really important, this game. And it also will teach us a number of things about Watford. How are we doing? How can we move the ball, as Matt says? How quickly are we going to move it? The key for me, Matt, is for us to move this ball quickly, and to get off to better starts at home, because we've been horrible at that this season. There's only been one game where that's been an exception. The game against West Brom, I thought we started very well at home. But this game, we're going to need to start well at home. We're going to need to, and I think Watford will score twice in the first half. Not once, but twice. And I think the first goal will come in the first 15 minutes of the game from Watford. So that's what I'm predicting, a 3-1 Watford win. This will be a test, though, about how quickly and how well Watford can do with the ball when you've not got someone who really moves the ball very well and is a really good low center of gravity when it comes to moving the ball about the pitch. So we'll see how it all goes. I want to thank everybody who has actually watched or commented today on Instagram and, of course, here on YouTube. My name is Omar. It's been a pleasure talking to you and reading your comments as fellow Watford supporters as we are prior to Watford versus Cardiff, which is going to get underway in just over 10 minutes time at the Vic, the final game of the season in the 2024, I almost said 2022, in the 2024 portion of the calendar, the final game of 2024. The rain belts down here in San Francisco, California. How is it where you are? I hope that it is dry. I know it's cold out there where you are, but I hope it's dry where you are as well. It has been very windy here in the city of San Francisco, California, and this is the rain season. So you can expect to get a lot of rain as we are getting today, at least. At this time of year. Well, thank you very much indeed. I do want to wish you a happy new year. I'll talk about that, of course, post-match, where we get ready, of course, to break things down between Watford and Cardiff. So we're just over 10 minutes away from kickoff at Vic. I do wish you well. And of course, we're back here after the game for You ORNS post-match on Instagram and here on YouTube as well. That's it for now. Enjoy the game and come on, You ORNS. And until post-match, I'm Omar saying, see you after the game. Take care.